Welcome back. You're watching Commodity Champions, and from sizzling summers and rising prices, let's move on to gold now because it's Akshaya Tritiya week and the prices of precious metals have eased after hitting a record highs. What does it really mean for the global buying and especially in the Indian markets here? To get to that sense, we are now joined by Peter McGuire. He is CEO at trading.com. Peter, hi, thank you so much for joining in. First of all, on the gold prices itself, from 3,500 to around 3,300, and it's been holding around those levels. What's your sense on current prices?
Well, Manisha, good to see you. I think it's, 33.20. Yes, it was certainly sold off from that peak of 35, but let's put our mind back to, say, August of last year, where it was set at 2,500, and that massive, 40% blast off from August to April was just extraordinary, Manisha. So, yeah, the hot air. We had also a bouncing US dollar over the last probably week and a half, back up to nearly at 100, but it's been sold off since. You're running at around 99.20. So I feel as though that you've got to keep a close eye on what's happening with, naturally, the tariff situation. But I think gold's got more run up in Q2.
What is the new high and what are your targets for this year now, Peter, for gold?
Well, I think, I've listened to the best of the best. You listen to the likes of Goldman's, you listen to the big banks, they're saying 45. I think it's got to be, a 37.50, and if it hits that, Manisha, then possibly 4,000. It's so difficult to really forecast because there are so many moving parts. Does China play ball with America, or does America play ball with China? And that seems to be the number one game at the moment. How that's going to play out and the impact that's going to have across the fabric of consumerism and, of course, central bank buying. So I think that, 37.50, but keep an eye on fall.
Peter, between gold and silver, with the gold and silver ratio as well suggesting that the silver should see a higher side or gold perhaps should correct, would you bet more on silver going forward from here?
Absolutely. I mean, it's currently the best part, $33.50. And, that ratio, Manisha, would be close to 100 to 1. I'm just working that working that out in my mind. I feel as though, the long-term averages, I think there's far more upside. We've had that underinvestment in the silver market for the best part of 2 to 3 decades. So that storyline hasn't changed. And the overall, I think, attraction is going to be, one, ease of market, ease of buying physical, and, of course, far more, I think, I'm not saying it's far more affordable, but not everyone can go out and buy a kilo of gold. It's a huge amount of money. So many people are looking at that silver market, and I know it's very attractive across different age demographics and very popular with the young people, certainly in Australia. You just hear about it. My kids are in the late 20s, and their friends are starting to talk about it. Oh, should I buy silver or gold? And I'm going to buy silver. So it's got an attraction.
While you have gold targets at around 37.50 on the higher side, Peter, what's your sense on silver for this year?
You've got to keep $45 as a number one target. I mean, I think that's US dollars, Manisha. It's got the capacity to get there. I don't know whether it'll be there by the end of Q3, but I wouldn't be surprised sometime, certainly by end of year. And, I remember the old bunker hunt days of 81 when they tried to corner the market. The all-time highs, I think it's going to be close to 50, takes it out. But, yeah, let's look at, that mid-40 range. I think it's very achievable.
Peter, it said that the silver will take support from gold if it goes up or down. And then if gold goes down, metals will go up and silver will take support from there. So either way, silver seems like in a sweet spot there. But what is also your sense for the base metal prices now? Because China has been saying some things which are supportive, but the market's still continuing to look at those tariff concerns.
Well, exactly. I mean, I have a look, start at 10. I mean, that was massively sold off from 37 to 32,000. And that's been, a massive downdraft over the last couple of weeks. Aluminium hasn't bounced. I mean, that's still at 2,400. Zinc's at 26. I've just made a note. You got copper. That gave off a lot of that hot steam. It hit 10,000, back to 9. Now it's at 94, just under 9,400, Manisha. Keep an eye on copper. You can't take... You've got to appreciate it because, it still is a barometer of global growth and global economic conditions. And I really feel as though that copper's probably got its best days ahead of it over certainly 2025 and leading into 26. I think it could take, 10,500 out quite easily.
You spoke about dollar index, which is holding around 99 right now. We did see prices or the index fall below that as well. How are you looking at dollar index now?
I want to see a couple of things come out this week. I mean, where's Fed Chair Powell going to be? If he drops rates, then it's only going to put further pressure to the downside for the US dollar. Is June going to be the call, or is it going to be July? What happens as far as PCE this week? What happens as far as non-farm payrolls? Is it going to shoot the lights out like last month at 228,000? But analysts are saying it's going to be closer to 130,000. So it's too hard to speculate on, NFP, Manisha. But I feel as though that if it was to get over 200,000, then it's going to change, I think, Fed Chair Powell's decision making, and he might push that back a little bit further. But very much in the hands of the Fed, and I think certainly softer from here for US dollar index.
Oh, well, absolutely. We've seen multi-year highs come in for euro and Australian dollar, and even Japanese yen seems to be getting some support there. So, Peter, if you had to make two main calls from here, or two main trades from here, one in currencies and one in commodities, what would those be?
I think I'd have to short US dollar. So that'd be probably a run up again for euro and probably yen. And I wouldn't be surprised that yen there's about 16 basis points of hikes that I think will probably come into the market. So I think the yen's got more capacity upside, and certainly euro. I'm still a gold bug, Manisha. I mean, I still believe its best days are ahead of it for 2025. So, yep, I'm still there.
All right, so shorting US dollar and going long on gold is the trade coming in for Peter McGuire. Thank you as always for joining in here at CNBC India. Really appreciate your time. And with that, that's all the time that we have on Commodity Champions. Thank you for watching.